this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Last year, I believe it was, we started a new genus, which I have a habit of doing. Normally it's once a year, but I'm getting to the point now where ideas are getting thin that would fit in with my environment. And given that my environment may well just be about to change, I'm not doing that at the moment. So I'm not risking anything new until I know where I'm going to be. Now, I thought we'd have a look at the Renantheras that I got as part of that sort of year by year thing that I do. And basically, just a point of order, this video will go on to the Patreon site without any ads. Yeah, so it's a nice little teaser. If you want to join YouTube as a, I think it's called a premium member or something or other, to have all of the ads, all of the videos that you watch ad-free, there's a fee. Well, you can certainly get a fair old few of my videos ad-free by joining the Patreon site, and you get that at the basic level, which is quite a low amount per month and helps the channel. Point of order, done. Right, I've got three. There's two species here and a hybrid, and typical Roger fashion, I don't actually know which one's which at the moment. The only way I can find out is to go back to perhaps when I bought them, because they won't have changed in their look that much. Anyway, Vandaceous types. These have three different styles, definitely, and they're at three different stages. And as they're relatively new to me, I don't know how big they've got to get to actually bloom. So, you know, these could be several years off blooming, I don't know. But this is the one that's in the poorest state, I will say, for two reasons. Not too many roots and a bit limited on the green stuff at the top here. It is growing. I mean, it has produced a new leaf since I got it. It's starting a new one now, and it's got these old leaves. There's a fair bit of bare stem here, so I would imagine one or two leaves have at least dropped off in its time. They may have even dropped off while I had it, I've forgotten. But what we've got is not much root activity. But you have to look closely. I've missed this. This is why I decided to film them today. If you look there on that, these haven't long been watered. That's why that one looks dark. It's a very old root, that one. If you look there, there's a little nubbin. So I think it's going to shoot out. There's a high probability that that's going to shoot out. And if you follow that root down, you'll see another nubbin. And then you'll actually see one with a root tip. And then you'll actually see another one. So this really old root that I managed to thread round is growing new branches. Well, that's my phone in the background. We won't take any notice of that at the moment. That was the email message, I believe, so it won't be anything important. And then we've got this root at the top, which is its newest root, which at the moment doesn't seem to be branching. So we shall see what happens, but certainly there is a little bit of activity starting on the roots, or on at least one of the roots. So I'm happy with that. These get dunked in the Vanda bucket and left to soak. Unfortunately, because of the weight of the lava rock, they sink to the bottom of the Vanda bucket. So in this one's case, it goes in up to there. So the plant gets dunked as well. Well, this time of year, that's fine, because obviously with the fans running, they're off at the moment. They dry out reasonably quickly. And we're not getting the low night temperatures. You know, come the time when my winter night temperatures start kicking in, I won't be able to dunk these. I'll have to pour water through, because to dunk them, they would probably go wet into the night, which would not be a good idea. Renantheras are warm growers, like a lot of the Vandaceous plants. These are bare minimum up the warm end of intermediate, but better still into that warm category where those night temperatures don't drop down too much. So these are probably going to slow right up in the winter time. I don't even know where they're going to spend the winter at the moment. Anyway, so that's one. Hopefully by the time I've messed about with this video, I might have been able to find out which one's which. If the worst comes to the worst, I'll put a pop-up at the end saying what all three of them are. Not necessarily which one's which, but at least I can. As I say, there's two species here and a hybrid. Right, so I'm just getting that one out of the way while I move to the next one. I have to go very careful with those because they're heavy. It's easy to not get them hung up properly and they crash down onto the ground. Now this one is the poorest as far as roots are concerned. This is the one that stood in moss for a long time trying to get it to grow roots, unsuccessfully basically. So it got put in the lava rock along with the other one, and the long root, so put the end in moss to try and get a new root to grow, and it didn't work at the time. So it was quite difficult keeping this hydrated, with one root effectively in the air. This root is now branching, so we've got branches on there, and if you look down at the base we do have another new root coming, so it will have two. That's a grand total of two. So there is some root activity. This root itself has still got a growing tip on it. I threaded it in through here a while ago because if it's I might be lucky and get a branch that actually can head into the lava rock. I don't know that. That was just a sort of guess. As far as the plant's concerned, we had a point here where it wasn't growing very well at all, so it produced small leaves. Now, so some people look at an orchid and think of them as normal plants where you get the big leaves at the bottom and they progressively get smaller. Orchids are often upside down from that point of view, and the smaller seedling type leaves are at the bottom and the more mature leaves are at the top, being much bigger. But it's starting to grow proper size leaves now. So we've had two new ones that are more like the right size. If you can imagine that one tipped over, it would be the same length as that. Yeah? And they will eventually tip over as more grow up. And again, it has another new leaf coming. So, no sign of any spikes. Duh. I don't even know if these have got a time of year when they actually bloom. Anyway, so that's that one. Stay. Right. And then this one is, certainly as a plant, this is by far the best. It arrived as the best. It's not down to my growing. So it already had some reasonable roots and it was already growing reasonably well. Now this one shows what I was just saying, the fact that the smaller leaves are from when the plant was quite young, and gradually they get bigger and bigger as it matures. Again, this one's grown new leaves and is pushing out another, another leaf on the apex. Come on, brain. But this one's got quite an extensive root system. There's not a huge amount of it in the pot. Most of it's outside the pot. But what I like to see is branching on these types of roots, because it gives chance to sort of grab hold of some of the lava rock or something and perhaps feel a bit more secure. But most of the roots on here are aerial. They've virtually all got growing points, although some of them haven't. But I'm hoping that this one, it's just starting to show signs of branching in places. Although most of these aerial roots are not showing signs of branching, but they can. So maybe they will in the not too distant future, and we'll get much thinner roots on this one than the other two. So anyway, it has an extensive root system, so I'm happy that that's probably why this one's growing quite well at the top, because it's got, more oomph coming in from the bottom sort of thing. As far as blooming is concerned on these, I'm quite happy to patiently wait, if you see what I mean. Obviously the spikes start in the leaf joints. I don't even know whether it would produce a spike low down or whether it's, whether they come out high up. And with these, because they're a new genus, I don't go mad looking loads of stuff up. I'm quite happy to just, I know their temperature range. These are good light type orchids up in the Cattleya range. I don't think they go into the Vanda range, which is probably the highest light, and not all Vandas require that. Some of them are lower light than that. They're all good light at least. But there is that highlight thing where, if you had the weather to be able to grow outside, they would take full sun for at least part of the day. Whether the Renantheras come into that category, I'm not quite sure. I can't do that, so for me it doesn't matter, does it? You see what I mean? I'm not putting them outside. So they have to put up with what they get in here. But they are up with the Vandas. Their normal position is up near the roof, basically, where it's warmest and brightest, and that's the best I can do. So all three of them are okay. I did buy 4. And one disintegrated and rotted very soon after purchase. So that came to me with something wrong with it, basically, and it just went down. This one, I don't know whether this one's actually got any new roots starting at the base. Don't think so. This was its latest one. That's the one that's highest up, and it's actually stopped growing, that one. It doesn't mean to say it really has stopped growing, because, as I said, as long as they're kept reasonably hydrated, they will branch. Some branch more than others. So there we go. That's the 3 Renantheras, like an update. The 3 that I've got are okay. I wouldn't say they're brilliant, but they're certainly okay. And they're progressing. None are going backwards, none are standing still. They're all moving forwards, they're all growing new leaves, they're all doing something with their root systems. So, so far, so good. I don't plan on getting any more. Quite honestly, at this point in time, because of what's going on, I'm not buying orchids. After Saturday, when I've been to see this property, I don't need to take a tape measure with me. I can judge distances quite well. I've got a horrible feeling that if I take this place, the conservatory is smaller than this. If I've got less space, I can't take all the orchids. So we might have a massive sell-off. This is undetermined, I don't know. Who knows, I might be able to get away with some of the orchids coming into the house part and becoming windowsill orchids, or a table in front of a window, rather than actually reduce the collection. And then I'd have a different way of growing that perhaps would be of interest to quite a few people that watch the channel, because I'm fully aware that not everybody has got a dedicated grow space like a greenhouse or a conservatory. In fact, there's probably a lot more that haven't than have. And those people are not really catered for in my current setup. I know I've got a couple of plants in on the dining room table, but that's not exactly a collection, is it? A couple of fowls. I suppose I better do an update on them soon. Anyway, that remains to be seen, and let me see, what am I doing? I've got that. Yes, I will be here, as far as I know, for the Sunday chat. So in the Sunday chat, I can do an update on my visit, how it went. There's 2 people need to decide, because obviously the landlord's got to decide that he would like to let the place to me, and I've got to decide that I would like him to let it to me. So that decision probably can't even be made on Saturday, because there'll be probably an agency. I'll have to do some checks on me and things like that. Whatever, and we'll go from there. But I will try and... the fact that it's currently tenanted and the tenants live there, I can't, unless they're away and it's empty, I might get permission to film. But I don't think I'll be allowed to film inside. But I may be allowed to have a wander around the grounds. So I'm taking the cameras in case I get the chance to use them. And we'll go from there. So there we go, my 3 Renantheras, or Renantheras, however you want to say it. That's how I started saying it, but somebody gave me a whatever the expression is that tells you how to pronounce things, said that most people actually say it as Renanthera, and that does sound a bit more orchidy to me, so I'm running with that at the moment. Don't think it matters that much, it's the spelling that counts. Anyway, thanks for dropping by, thanks for your time, and yet again thanks to all those that have gone over to the Patreon site or have bought a coffee. How about this then? I had a coffee with a message that said, "I've bought you a coffee for your migraine." And that's exactly what that buy me a coffee type site is for. It's for a one-off, just something that just tickled your fancy, or you know, something that was particularly relevant to you or something like that. And it, like I say, it's like leaving a tip. But yeah, somebody bought me a coffee for a migraine. I'm not sure caffeine's the best thing for a migraine, but my migraines are not painful. You know, don't have loads of sympathy for me suffering in the dark with the curtains pulled and a towel over my head. It's not that sort of migraine. It is merely a portion of my vision is a bit fuzzy for some minutes, and that's it. It's gone. It's not even a discomfort most of the time. A lot of the time I just have to stop looking at the computer for sort of 15 minutes because there's a bit of the screen I can't see because it's gone fuzzy. My peripheral vision during one of those episodes is perfect. When I first started getting them, how about this for daftness? Because the sort of blind spot or the fuzzy spot is slightly off centre, slightly to the right, I kept thinking if I move my head I can look round it. Duh. But basically, if I swing my head relatively quickly, the blob moves. It goes to the side of my vision and swings back again to where it was before. I mean, it's the sort of thing, if I was driving, if I looked slightly off to the right of the car in front of me, I could see that car crystal clear. But I'd be using my peripheral vision, so I wouldn't do it. I'm not saying that's what I'd do, but you know, what if I was on a motorway and an episode came on? I mean, I would pull onto the hard shoulder and put my hazards on and get out of the car and get away from the, you know, from the hard shoulder in case a sleepy truck driver beats the car all up the road. But yeah, I mean, basically, if one came on while I was driving, I'd have to pull over and stop. It wouldn't be safe to do so. So far, it's only happened once, and that was the first time I ever got one. And I was driving through a forest after it had rained, and the sun was setting dead ahead up the road, and that brightness was such that when I turned a bend, my blob was there for the first time ever, and I pulled over onto the hard shoulder feeling very, very scared on the grounds. I didn't know what it was, and at first it seemed to be getting worse because it was getting bigger. But what I didn't know at the time was as it gets bigger, which it does, it gets more clear. So when it's at its largest size, I can see straight through it. It doesn't actually impair my vision that much at all. So I could live with that. And as I said, it only lasts 15-20 minutes, so I know it's going to go away. So don't have sympathy for it. It's not a big deal. It's not like the real migraines where you shut yourself away, no noise, you know, no bright lights, all that. So I haven't got all that. It's just a bit of blurry vision, which we live with. Anyway, that's my Renantheras. You know, anybody that's has got a few of these growing well or anything that's got any tips, leave them in the comments. They're always appreciated. You know, as I said, this is a relatively new genus for me. The fact that it's vandaceous and I've already got some vandaceous plants, it's not like brand shiny new and I haven't got anything like it. But yeah, I really am looking forward to one day getting some blooms on these. They're pretty bright colours, and these were chosen to be slightly more tolerant for not quite as much heat as they ought to have, and in addition to that, you know, good, bright, strong colours when we eventually see them. So Anyway, thanks for dropping by. See you again.